Let me guess, you are ready to build your first or next funnel. In this video, I'm going to give you a complete breakdown of how to get started with System.io the right way. It doesn't matter if your skill level is beginner or intermediate. By the end of this video, you will have everything you need to build funnels for clients, charge for your services, or even sell your own products. Let me show you what we cover in this lesson. We are going to be redesigning this landing page from acquisition.com. We master the art of adding and editing elements such as sections, rows, columns, buttons, countdown, and more. We'll do all this with the power of drag and drop. Content. We will add content to the elements, heading, body text, images, videos, forms. Styling. This is where we get fancy. We will customize your funnel's design with fonts, colors, and background images to match your brand perfectly. I'm going to leave timestamps as well, so that way if you want to skip to a specific part of the video, you can do that as well. My goal is to make this as short as possible because I respect your time. By the way, if you haven't met, my name is Eugene Bones, a copywriter and marketing strategist. Alright, let's get into the video. In order to follow along with this lesson, you will need to get System.io. If you don't already have an account, you can get started for free, even without a credit card. Now, the cool thing about the free plan is it allows you to use all these features for free. They allow you to start making money before you even pay for the software. And that's one thing that makes System.io unique. If you find this video helpful and want to thank me, consider using the link in the description below to sign up for the free plan. It will be a great way to show your support for the channel. But if not, that's fine as well. Alright, let's jump in and see how the software works. Here's how to navigate your way around it. You have your main dashboard, contacts, funnels, emails, blogs, automation, products, sales, and of course, help. Now the first thing you need to know is how to use the drag and drop builder. So let's start by clicking on funnels. Then click on create. Give it a name. Now this is your funnel's domain, but since we haven't set up a custom domain yet, your funnel will be linked to your subdomain, i.e. your email.system.io. You can always change this to your custom domain later. For now, let's just use the subdomain. Next, choose your funnel goal, build an audience, sell, custom, run an evergreen webinar. I'll select custom since I want to build from scratch. With currency, I would keep it in USD. You can change it as it applies to you. Then click on save. Go ahead and click on what you just created. In my case, it's demo. Cool. So now you are in the pre-funnel builder. And as I mentioned earlier, if you wish to change your custom domain, you can do so under funnel settings. And you can view your funnel right here. I'll cover these in another video, so check the channel for more tutorials. Let's just keep it simple in this video. This is your funnel step. As you can see in this example, you have your sales page, order form, upsell, and thank you page. So you can think of this as a funnel. The pages move in chronological order to reach a goal. So the lead is going to be put through the funnel to reach your goal, which in this case is a purchase when they land on your thank you page. So let's go ahead and create our landing page. Click on add step, give it a name. Select sales page. Click on save. Now it's showing us several templates. You can preview any of these to see what it looks like. Let's just go with this. This is the URL path of your funnel step, but you can always change that right here. Now it says the value is not valid because we left a space between the landing and the page. It's either we close it up or we put a dash in between. And this can be accepted. Then click out to save. Now let's move on and get into the funnel builder. You just have to select the funnel step and click on edit page. As you can see, you are now in the funnel builder. Now this can be overwhelming at first, but you don't have to worry because we are going to do this step by step. And since we want to create from scratch, let's delete everything so we have a blank page. You can do that with this little trash icon here. So I'll do that real quick. Cool. We now have a perfect canvas to start building on. And I always like to start with sections. So let's grab a section right here. And it's as simple as drag and drop. And you always drop it onto the canvas. If you try dropping it outside, you get this red circle, which won't work. So you always have to drop it onto the canvas. There you go. Now let's go over the funnel structure. As you can see on the page we are modeling after, there are 5 sections in all. And one way to differentiate sections is they always have different colors. In this example, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'll leave a link below to this page so you can model after. And any other resource I use in this video will be linked below for you as well. And one way to differentiate sections from rows and columns is the sections are always framed with a green color and the rows are always framed with a blue color. And contents like heading, text, and videos are always framed with an orange color. So since we already have one section on our page, let's just bring in 4 more. And always, you don't drop it outside the canvas. You drop it inside and you get this light blue color indicating you drop it onto the canvas. So let's bring in 3 more. And always remember to click on save so you don't lose your progress. So on the page you are modeling after, the content width is not full page, it's wide. So let's do that real quick. Do that right here. You click on the section and you come down here into the settings, and under size and position, content width, you change it to wide. You change it to wide. So let's do the same for the rest. Then we click on save. So now we have the 5 sections in place. Alright, so let's continue. So on this page we have the logo, heading, and 2 buttons. So let's bring in the column to hold these as well. So let's do that on our page. So we will need, since there were 4, we will need 4 columns. So let's drag it here and drop it onto our page. We always drop it inside the row. Great. So let's grab our image. Heading and 2 buttons. Click on save. So when you try clicking on save, you get this at least 1 email input is required on this page. And this is because the action when clicked button is at submit form. So for now, let's just change it to open URL so we can save. Open URL. Great. So this time around, when you click on saved, it saves. We can always change this later on as it applies to our needs. Now let's go back to the page we are modeling after so we can continue. The second section, we have 9 columns. And again, we are not worrying about the text. All we are focusing on is the structure. And this approach of breaking down funnels into sections makes building funnels pretty easy. And if you want to learn more about funnels, design, or even start a funnel agency, I highly recommend Bolivar. He's been a blessing to my journey. You can check that out in the description. So let's keep going with the structure. So we need 9 columns to hold the image and text. But on system.io under column layout, the most we have is 4. So to pull this off, we'll bring in 3 columns. And then we put in 3 in each row. 3 here. Yeah. And we can just duplicate this. And we drag it there. We click on save. Alright, so we are still continuing with the structure. And again, we are not worrying about the text. All we are doing is the structure. So let's bring in 3 more rows as we can see in this example. We have the heading, text, divider, and then the columns as well. Let's recreate that. So let's bring in 3 rows. And we can just duplicate this. And remember, the section is always in green. The rows are framed with a blue color. So let's just duplicate the row. Now, since the section already have a row, there's no need bringing in another row. So let's just duplicate the rows. Awesome. Now let's bring in the 4 columns. Awesome. Let's click on save. Let's go back to the next section. I hope you can see how easy it is to build these things. Alright, so on the 4th section, we have the image, heading, and 2 buttons. So let's bring in 2 columns to recreate this. So this is our 4th section. Let's bring in 2 columns. Let's move on to the feed section. So with the feed section, we have something like what we created on the first session, which is 9 columns and 3 columns here. So on this page, we're going to do something a little different, just so we have enough room to resize the logo here. So let's bring in our columns to hold these. Now we do something a little different here. Let's bring in 2 columns. Then bring in 2 more columns. Don't worry, it will make sense in a moment. Then also bring in 4 more columns. Great. Just duplicate this, drag and drop it here. Awesome. So that we have enough room for the image. This will give us enough room to resize the image. It will all make sense in a moment. Awesome. So let's click on save. Now I know this is quite ugly, but just trust the process. It will all make sense in a moment. So let's continue. Alright, so let's start bringing in more elements as we see on the page we are modeling after. Let's go to the next section. We have heading and image. We have 8 headings and image. Alright, so let's bring in the image, the headings. Duplicate. You can just duplicate this and drag them in. Let's go to the 3rd section. So in the first row, we have heading, text, the divider, images, buttons, and text. heading, text, drop it inside the row, not outside the row, inside the row, underneath the heading. We have the divider. System.io has its own divider, but it's not as pretty as the one we see on the landing page. I would rather recreate this in Figma and bring it here as an image. So I'll delete this and bring in an image instead. We have heading, image, button, and text. So let's bring in the heading, image, button, and text. Now, the fourth section, we have image, heading, and 2 buttons. We have image, heading, and 2 buttons. Of course, we would need to bring in 2 columns underneath the heading. Then bring in the 2 buttons. Duplicate. Awesome. Now the last section. So here we have the image and 8 menus. We have the image, 8 menus, and also we have 3 columns here and a text. So let's create that. Let's bring in the image, the heading. So let's just resize this to get some room. So let's bring in 3 more rows. Not here. There. Alright. And to pull that off, you would need to bring in 3 more rows to the middle so we can center those. They don't make sense in a moment. Drop it here. Go ahead and click on save. Now let's start bringing in the content. To speed up your process, just download this from acquisition.com and you can use this extension, Chrome extension called CSS Peeper. So install the Chrome extension CSS Peeper and click right here. As you can see, it's highlighting the logo. Click on the logo and there you have it, export. Cool. So let's import that onto our page. So you click on the image and you use this little cloud icon to import the image you just downloaded. Click on select file to upload. There you have it. So you click this and you insert. Awesome. Let's go ahead and bring in the rest. Alright, so let's move to the button. To change the button text, click on button and scroll down to typography, button text. You have to just delete the subtext because we don't need it. Cool. Let's do the same for the second button. Repeat the same process. Click on button, scroll down to typography. Now you scroll down to subtext because we don't need the subtext. Click on save changes. Let's go to the next section. Again, let's download this image. Export. Click on image with this little cloud icon. Click on insert. Now we can't see it because it's white on white, but if we should change the background color to something like black, there we have it. But for now, let's just keep it at white and let's continue with what we are doing. And let's continue. Always remember to save your progress. Now let's go to the third section. We have the heading, text, and divider. So let's bring those in real quick. Let's bring in the heading. Alright, so let's bring in the divider, and I'm not using the one that comes with system.io. I'm recreating this in Figma. I'll leave a link down below for you to download. So let's bring in the divider. Click on the image, click on the little cloud icon, upload. We have heading, image, button, and text. Let's just download this with the same Chrome extension. Export. So I'll do those real quick so that we don't have to keep coming here. Let's clear the subtext. We don't need it. Here we have cool. So we can just duplicate this. Let's just duplicate the image and drop it underneath the heading. Drop it underneath the heading. Go ahead and upload the images. You just download it. Let's duplicate the buttons. Let's duplicate this as well. Now our page is slowly coming together. Let's click on Save. Let's go to the next section, the fourth section. We have image, heading, and 2 buttons. So let's download the image with the same Chrome extension. Let's change the button text and the typography. The second button. Let's move on to the last session, and always remember to save. Alright, so the last session we have image. Let's just download this image. Let's bring them in. Now we have Alright, let's click on Save Changes. Now we are done with the first part, which is the structure. The second part, which was bringing in more elements. Now we are moving on to the final part, which is styling. And this is where we get fancy. We will bring in the colors, we will do the spacing, and any other thing to make the page pop. So let's do that real quick. Okay, so click on Save Changes. Alright, let's preview and see what our page looks like. You do that with this little icon here. And it's telling us this is preview mode. So you can X out of this. Alright, so this is our page right here. It's looking a little bit ugly, but that's where styling comes in. So let's go and redesign that and preview it later. Let's X out of this and go to the back end. Alright, so the first section, let's see what they had there. Let's start with the logo. Let's resize that. You do that under image size. Great. So let's resize the column just a bit because all we need is this size. So let's do that right here. So we change that under paddings. So scroll down with padding. We have left and right. So let's change it a bit. You can see it's resizing. Great. Okay. Let's do the same thing here. Click on Save. So on the page you are modeling after, there are 100 corners on the button with borders around it. So let's duplicate that. You do that by clicking on the button and you scroll down. So you see rounded corners. Let's change it to 30. For the top right, we do that all around. So we change all 4. Now let's bring in the border around the button. You scroll down again, and the border, and the style here is solid, and that's where we want it. Let's go down to type and change it to full border. As it stands now, it's bottom only. Let's change it to full border. Let's change the size to 1 pixel. Nice. Let's do the same for the second border. We first work on the rounded corners, which is 30 all around. Then we go down to borders. We keep it as solid. We change the type to full border and we change the size to 1 pixel. Nice. We click on save. So let's just keep them in line with the logo and text. So click on the button and go down to margin and then let's push it up. Let's do the same for the second. Click on save. If you are pressed with time and want to cut the learning curve and get results fast, schedule a free consultation below and let's help you turn your project into a marketing success story. Now let's pick the button color. There you have it. You click on this picker icon to copy. Let's go onto our page. Now you scroll down to color. Click on this icon, background color. That's the background color for the button. And you click here and put in the hex code. Now we want to save this as our branding so we don't have to keep changing this all the time. So you click on this and you have it saved here. So X out of it. So click out of it. Now you can see the border color is still black. We need to change it to our branding, which is the color we just picked. So we go to borders and then the border color, we change it to our branding. Cool. Now we have something that looks like what you're working with here. Save. Now I can see a hover effect on the button that turns the text to the purple color. So let's do that. And I think this font is Poppins. So let's check with our extension, our tool. Great. So you can see the typeface. Font family is Poppins. The size is 16. Yeah. So let's do that. Let's change the text first. Type under typography. Under font type, let's change it to Poppins. Google Fonts, Poppins. Let's work on the size. 16, as we saw on the page. 16. Now let's do the hover. Let's bring in the hover effect. You scroll down till you see hover effect. We change the white for the hover effect to this, the branding, purple color, and then the background in that case will be white. So let's just preview that. Save. Click on save. So let's just preview that and see if that works. So we have the logo, we have the heading. Great. We have the effect going on. Let's just bolden the border a little bit so that we have something more solid, as we can see on the page we are modeling after. So we scroll down to border. We change the size from 1 pixel to 2 and we click on save. Now let's bolden the button text a bit. You click on it and you go down to typography. Under font style, you change it from regular to medium 500. Click on save. Now let's preview again and see what it looks like. Awesome. Now we are getting there. So let's hover over it and see what it looks like. Great. Now we don't have to go through all this process again to recreate that for the second button. So let's just duplicate this to keep the format and settings. Drag it up here and delete this. Let's just change the text and the typography. And the hover effect for this second button is the inverse of this. So let's check that real quick. As you can see, this is white and it changes to that. So let's do that. Let's go. The text color for the second button on the hover effect is white. So let's keep it as white. Then we come to background. So the background color for this is purple. Then let's change, before the hover, the color is white and the text is purple. So let's check if that's working. Awesome. There we have it. Awesome. So let's preview it again and see. So the second section, they had this dark blue color. Let's pick it. Let's pick that. Let's go back to our page. And this is the background color for this section. So let's click on this and background color. So let's keep this branding here. Right. So we have it saved. Click on save. Now let's change the color for the menus and make them white. You highlight them and go to and click on this, change it to white. So let's do that for the rest. So let's change the size. Let's change it to Poppins. The font style, let's change it to light. Alright, let's do the same thing here. So let's realign them. Alright, so let's click on save and preview again. We are getting there. So let's reduce the spacing around it just a bit. So you click on the row that highlights all 9 columns. Now click on margin. Okay. Now on the text section, let's work on the styling. Let's change it to Poppins. Now let's change the color. Let's work on the divider. Make sure you select the divider. That is the image. It's always framed with an orange color. Click on it and go here under image size. Let's bring it down. There you have it. So let's copy this and download this image. Let's just bring 2 columns here. An image. And heading. Okay. Let's resize it to get it in line. Cool. Let's bring in the image. Okay. Let's realign it. So let's push down this whole row. Not this, but this. Now let's close the space in between this and that. Let's push that up just a little bit. Let's push this up just a little bit. Let's push the whole thing down a little. Okay. Now let's move on to the button. And since I've created the button previously, I'll just duplicate that and bring it here. I'll drop it here. Okay, so let's delete this. Yeah, and this button has the same effect, so let's just work on it just a little bit. So we go to patterns. Awesome. Let's duplicate this. Let's change the text. Let's just duplicate this. Now for the last button, what I can see is it's not a button, rather it's an image. So I'll create this in Figma and just bring it in. All the resources I use in this video will be linked down below in the description for you. So I'll do that real quick on the page. So let's delete this and rather bring in an image. Bring in an image. Awesome. So let's work on the spacing. Always you do that under margins. Alright, so I'll bring in the image real quick. Click on save and let's move on to the fourth section. Let's go onto our page. Okay, so the background color here is sort of gray. Let's check that. So let's change that right here, background. Let's change our font. And the button, I'll save myself some time and just duplicate what I have up here. I need two buttons, so I'll drag them here. Delete these. I'll put all these in a row so that will make the realignment quite easy. So I'll drag a row in here. Now drag these into it. Then I'll reposition this. So let's change the text real quick and always select the button, the orange highlights, very important. I'll change the button text. The image is a little to your left, so I'll resize the columns as well. So let's do that. So I'll push the image down. And click on the section and work on the padding. I'll click on the section, make sure it's highlighted, and work on the padding, button padding. Let's bring it in a bit. Right, so we want the image to sit just on the edge of the section. Awesome, there we have it. Alright, great. So let's change the button text and widen it a bit. And widen it just a bit. Let's go to alignment and bring it here. And again, since I've already worked on the button, a similar button up there, to keep the effect, the hover and the borders, let's just copy the one up there. Duplicate, drag it down, let's change the button text. What is it? Margin, padding. Alright, so let's click on save. Alright, now the final section. So we have the image. It's almost like what we created up there. So let's just duplicate that and bring it down here. We just duplicate that and drop it on the feed section. So let's do that. Drag it all the way down. Because the background is white, we can't see what we just dropped there, but it's still there. So let's just change the background color and delete these. Let's change the background color here with the color we just picked from the page we are modeling after. Cool. And let's just delete this. Awesome. Privacy policy. Let's change the text for the privacy policy. Poppins. The color is white. Sorry, not the background color. Alright, so double click, highlight the text and change it from here. Awesome. Let's do the same for this. Let's change the sizing to 10. Let's change the text. So just resize that. Yeah, just resize that and you have it spread. Yeah. So let's realign that so they are all in line. So you can just push them close to each other. And finally this, you highlight and change the color. Let's change the text to Poppins. 10 as well. Let's see what this is. Let's close up the space a little bit. Always remember to click on Save Changes. Let's preview this and see what it looks like. Yeah, we are almost there. Yeah, we are almost there. We are almost there. Insect. Awesome. There we have it. Let's just realign this. Click on it. Let's click to margins. Let's click on margins. Push it up just a little bit. Good. Click on Save Changes. Alright, so let's preview what we have. Great. Awesome. That looks pretty good. We've been able to redesign this from acquisition.com but I think we can do a few touch-ups with the spacing to get it as clean as we see on the landing page. So let's check that. So we can work on a bit of spacing here and there. Yeah, so let's bring in some spacing. Let's get to the back end. Let's add in some spacing here, right? So let's just add some spacing to make it a little cleaner. Let's close this up a bit. So you click on the section and then margins. Cool. So this is regular, and then let's just pick the color for this. Awesome. Let's do that for all the rest. Always remember to save changes. So let's just clean it up. So we want some spacing between this and that. So let's just click on the row. And then we stretch this a bit. Great. There you have it. So let's just click on Save Changes and preview what we've just created. X out of this. Awesome. And within no time, we've been able to redesign this landing page from acquisition.com. You should give yourself a pat on the back for a great job done. Hopefully you can see that building funnels is very simple as long as you have the right tools like System.io, and the best part is it's extremely affordable. Feel free to reference the video at any point. You can rewatch certain portions of it. Again, if you find this video helpful and want to buy me coffee, consider signing up through the link in the description below. It will be a great way to show your support for the channel. Alright, that's just about it. Stay blessed.